He wrote this essay for an English class in February of 2013. To Dare Damnation, the interplay between remembrance and revenge in Hamlet Act IV. Shakespeare thoroughly investigates the relationship between remembrance and revenge in the play Hamlet. In the play, three young male characters, all who lost a father by foul play, act as individual case studies in the connection between remembrance and revenge. For these three characters, Hamlet, Laertes, and Fortinbras, remembrance of their father's unjust murder functions as the catalyst for their desire for vengeance. Throughout the play, these particular vengeance-provoking acts of remembrance occur in two modes. Either the young male character actively and independently calls to mind their father's death on his own, or an encounter with a character still living but greatly affected by the crime in question inspires the young male character to contemplate their father's victimhood in a more passive, independent manner. Laertes' decrescendo of anger in Act IV Scene V occurs amidst several explorations of these two different modes of revenge agitation. Shakespeare presents Laertes as a study in these two motivations to revenge through remembrance. In the same scene, Laertes both independently calls Polonius' victimhood to mind, and is reminded of it by Ophelia. The serious reader should interpret this scene as an advocation by Shakespeare that independent brooding promotes revenge more than social interaction with those affected by the crime, both the innocent family members and the guilty who benefited. Act IV Scene V begins with Laertes at the height of his anger in this scene. He has recently received word of his father's death, and has brooded over the crime on his own. He has not yet encountered any living person affected by the crime. His anger is so great that he, in a fit of irrationality, claims he will destroy all his relationships, make a pact with the worst demon, and suffer damnation if only he may have his revenge. 211, Hamlet, 4.5.130-135. Laertes' illogical outburst appears at the beginning of the scene before he has been able to vent and see his sister. Ophelia, the living victim of Polonius' murder, has suffered a mental breakdown from the stress of the events. If Shakespeare desired to argue that the living reminders of a revenge-motivating crime more powerfully inspire revenge than private recollection of the crime, then Laertes' anger would increase after meeting his poor sister. Shakespeare does not argue for this stance though. Laertes' anger subsides by the end of the scene, albeit subtly. He has been civilized, and calmed by his contact with the Danish court. Shakespeare's close analysis of revenge and its motivation leaves his audience with the question, why is the bard so concerned with the motivating factors of revenge? Perhaps he sought to teach his audience to be wary of brooding over personal wrongs in private, but to rather air one's hatred forthrightly to the wrongdoer. For as we see in Act V, Hamlet and Laertes are not reconciled until they honestly confront each other.